What if you could spend 3 days in Colorado with your family and never run out of things to do? From exploring caves deep inside the cliffside, to vintage rides at the North Pole, to standing on top of a 14,000-foot mountain. In this video, we're taking you through a 3-day itinerary with some of the best family adventures in the Pikes Peak region, with hidden gems, local favorites, great food, and one town that connects it all. So stick around because we'll also be sharing tips and tricks to make the most out of your visit. And by the end of this trip, you might understand why so many families keep coming back here year after year. For day 1, we're starting with one of the most unique adventures in the region, Cave of the Winds Mountain Park. It combines underground cave exploration with outdoor mountain thrills, and it's one of those attractions that really works for a wide range of ages. One thing that surprises a lot of visitors is that the cave stays a consistent 54 degrees year-round, no matter what the weather is doing outside. So even during the middle of summer, bringing a light jacket is usually a good idea. As you head underground, you'll walk through narrow passageways, massive caverns, and rock formations that have been forming for millions of years. The cave system was naturally formed inside the mountain, so every room feels completely different from the last. For families visiting for the first time, the 45-minute discovery tour is usually the best place to start. It's guided, family-friendly, and gives you a great overview of the cave's history, geology, and some of the more famous formations inside. If you want something a little more adventurous, Cave of the Winds also offers specialty tours like the 90-minute lantern tour, where you explore sections of the cave using handheld lanterns for a more historic and atmospheric experience. But what really makes Cave of the Winds stand out is that the adventure continues once you come back above ground. The mountain park is packed with activities built along the walls of Williams Canyon. One of the biggest attention grabbers is the pterodactyl, a massive canyon swing that launches riders hundreds of feet down the edge of the canyon before swinging them back and forth through the cliffs below. For younger adventurers, the Batapult zipline is a fun introduction to the thrill attractions at the park, sending riders soaring above Williams Canyon with incredible views below. Right next to it is the Windwalker Challenge course, a multi-level high ropes course built along the edge of the cliffs with swinging obstacles, balance challenges, and platforms suspended high above the canyon floor. And for families with older kids and teens looking for a bigger adventure, the Cave of the Winds also offers guided Via Ferrata climbing experiences and scenic zip lines that take you directly across the rock walls and rugged terrain surrounding the park. What's great about Cave of the Winds is that you can customize the experience depending on your family. If you choose to do multiple activities, they offer package deals for you to save money. Some people come mainly for the cave tours, spending roughly an hour and a half here. Others spend most of their time doing the outdoor attractions. And a lot of families end up mixing them both together into a half-day adventure. It's an incredible way to start your Colorado trip. After spending the first part of your day at Cave of the Winds, the next stop on day 1 is the Garden of the Gods Trading Post. It's much more than just a quick souvenir shop. The Trading Post is one of the oldest and most well-known businesses in the Pikes Peak region, sitting right at the southwest entrance to Garden of the Gods Park. Inside, the building is massive. You'll find everything from locally made art and Native American jewelry to Western gifts, toys, home decor, books, apparel, and Colorado souvenirs. For families, it's one of those places where everybody usually ends up wandering off in different directions, finding something they're interested in. There's also Balanced Rock Cafe with some really great food options. I personally always go for the Southwest Bison Burger. There's also a coffee shop and locally made ice cream, making this a great place to slow down a little after a busy morning. One thing you'll probably notice pretty quick when you walk inside is the smell of fudge. They make dozens of different flavors fresh every day, so make sure to stop and get a free sample before you head out. After you've refueled at the Trading Post, it's a perfect time to drive or walk through Garden of the Gods Park itself. The park is completely free to visit and has tons of family-friendly walking paths for you to get much closer to the rock formations. Balanced Rock is one of the most popular stops for photos, and paths like Central Garden Trail are paved and easy for most families to explore. You can spend 30 minutes here or several hours depending on how much you want to explore. From there, head into historic Manitou Springs, which really serves as the perfect base camp for the entire itinerary. One of the biggest advantages of staying in Manitou Springs is location. You're within a 15-minute drive to all of the activities in this list, including the start of the Pikes Peak Highway, and several of the other attractions you'll experience throughout your trip. Staying here means you'll spend less time driving and more time actually enjoying the area. But beyond convenience, Manitou Springs also just has a completely different atmosphere compared to a lot of the larger tourist destinations. The town is walkable and surrounded by mountains, filled with historic buildings, local shops, small cafes, arcades, art galleries, and unique lodging options ranging from historic inns to modern hotels. And because downtown is compact and easy to explore on foot, the slower pace quickly becomes part of the experience itself. You can check into your hotel, walk downtown for dinner, browse local shops, grab ice cream, or simply wander through town while listening to Fountain Creek running nearby. One of the most unique parts is the natural mineral springs scattered throughout downtown Manitou. You can walk between different spring fountains and sample the naturally carbonated mineral water for free. Each spring has its own mineral content and distinct taste, so finding and trying the different springs turns into its own scavenger hunt around town. You can go and pick up a free reusable tasting cup from the Manitou Springs Chamber Building. Instead of feeling like you're constantly rushing from attraction to attraction, Manitou gives families a place to actually slow down, settle in, and enjoy the moments in between the bigger adventures. If you found this video helpful or entertaining, hit the like and subscribe button for more travel planning tips. Now back to the video. For day 2, we're switching gears completely and stepping back into Colorado's Wild West history at the Ghost Town Museum. Located inside a historic building in Colorado Springs, Ghost Town Museum recreates an entire Old West town indoors using real buildings and artifacts brought down from abandoned mining towns across Colorado. And what makes this place fun for families is that it's much more interactive than a traditional museum. Instead of simply just looking at the artifacts behind glass, you can actually walk through old streets, peek inside historic businesses, and get a feel for what life was like during Colorado's mining days. As you move through the museum, you pass old saloons, shops, a blacksmith area, historic wagons, mining equipment, and buildings filled with original items from the late 1800s and early 1900s. And there are a lot of little details hidden throughout the museum that make it worth slowing down and really looking around. You can try vintage-style arcade machines, play old-fashioned games, and even try the shooting gallery, which has become one of the most popular stops inside the museum. And because so much of the museum is interactive, kids tend to stay much more engaged compared to a typical history museum. So we recommend bringing some quarters along to try these activities. There's also a gold painting area in the summer, where visitors can search for real gold. You heard that right, they place 100% real, pure gold in the painting troughs every single day. After spending the morning exploring Colorado history, it's time to head up the mountain toward one of the most nostalgic attractions in the Pikes Peak region, North Pole Santa's Workshop. Tucked into the forest near the base of Pikes Peak, North Pole has been a family tradition for generations and still has a classic charm that feels very different from larger modern theme parks. Instead of giant concrete walkways and massive crowds, the park feels smaller, more relaxed, and built directly into the mountainside. You're surrounded by pine trees, mountain views, Christmas music, and colorful buildings almost everywhere you look. And for younger kids especially, this experience can feel completely magical. The park features a mix of family-friendly rides spread throughout the property, including small roller coasters, spinning rides, and classic amusement park favorites that are great for younger kids and families to enjoy together. There are also live shows, magic performances, and chances to meet Santa himself throughout the season. It's the kind of place where parents and grandparents often talk about visiting when they were kids themselves, and now they're bringing the next generation back. Entrance into the park during the summer and fall season is free, so even if you don't plan to do any of the rides, the mountain setting, views, Christmas cheer, and old school amusement park atmosphere still makes it a great experience. So if you plan on just walking around or only doing a couple of rides, this can be about a 2-hour event. But if you're looking to go with the unlimited pass, this can easily be a half day, taking 4+ hours. And after a full day of activities, head back into Manitou Springs for the evening. It has a surprisingly strong food scene and arcade packed into the historic downtown area. You'll find everything from casual cafes and coffee shops to pizza places, patios, breweries, and candy stores. Maybe you stop for a pizza after the long day, grab a dessert from a local candy shop, and find a patio with mountain views and live music. The Penny Arcade stretches across multiple buildings and is packed with hundreds of arcade games, ranging from modern machines to vintage games that have been entertaining families for decades. One of the coolest parts is many of the older games still only cost a few cents to play, which is where the arcade gets its name. By the end of day 2, you've experienced underground caves, Old West history, mountain amusement parks, and one of Colorado's most unique mountain towns, all within a surprisingly small area. For the final day of this itinerary, we're heading to the attraction that defines the entire region, Pikes Peak, America's Mountain. Standing at 14,115 feet above sea level, Pikes Peak is one of the most famous mountains in the United States and has been inspiring visitors for generations. Now, it's not a coincidence that we waited to share Pikes Peak until the 3rd day. It's a great idea to spend the first couple days of your trip acclimating to the higher altitude of Manitou and Colorado Springs before going up to the summit above 14,000 feet. The drive up the mountain is a huge part of what makes visiting Pikes Peak so memorable. As you climb higher in elevation, the scenery constantly changes. There are a ton of pull-offs along the way with hiking trails, picnic areas, and reservoirs for fishing and non-motorized watercrafts. You start surrounded by forests and mountain views, then gradually move above treeline into alpine terrain where the landscape becomes feeling otherworldly. Because you gain so much elevation, temperatures at the summit are usually 30 degrees cooler than they are down in Manitou or Colorado Springs. Even during the summer, bringing extra layers is a smart idea. The highway is fully paved, well-maintained, and designed for visitors of all kinds. That said, if you'd rather relax and let someone else handle the drive, there's also shuttle options available that can take visitors to the summit, which can be a great alternative if you're uncomfortable with mountain driving or simply just want to sit back and enjoy the scenery without focusing on the road. Once you arrive at the summit, there's so much more to do than one might initially think. There are accessible walking paths all around the summit for 360-degree views. On clear days, you can see across the plains of eastern Colorado and deep into the surrounding mountain ranges. There's something pretty unforgettable about standing above 14,000 feet with your family, taking in the views from the summit of one of America's most iconic mountains together. The Summit Visitor Center sits right at the top of Pikes Peak and gives families a chance to warm up, grab food, explore exhibits, and learn more about the mountain itself. Before heading back down, there's one thing that almost everyone recommends doing: getting the famous Pikes Peak high-altitude donuts. By the end of these 3 days, you've experienced underground caves, mountain adventures, historic Colorado attractions, amusement parks, local food, arcades, and one of America's most iconic mountains, all connected by one unforgettable town. That combination of adventure, scenery, history, and small-town atmosphere is what keeps so many families coming back to the Pikes Peak region year after year. So if you're planning a family vacation, hopefully this itinerary gives you a better idea of how to experience some of the very best Colorado has to offer. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment telling us what activities you're most excited to experience with your family. We'll see you in the next adventure.